Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry, there was a issue related to the Zoom thing. Give me a minute, okay, guys? I'll just start. Okay, let's start. Is my screen visible, guys?
Yes,
Okay. All right. So we are meeting after 3 days. I was a bit busy last 3 days, so could not take the lecture. So today we will be starting with the concept of security fundamentals. Okay. So access list is one of the very important topic which we are going to take it today. Okay. To just give you a rough idea, what are the topics which we are just remaining, okay, to cover so far. We have covered the basics of networking, the networking fundamentals so far, and what we are yet to learn is related to the security fundamentals. Like we are starting with today with the access list, okay, and then we will be learning about the firewall, the VPN, and those basic security stuff. We are going to do that. Then we are left with the wireless topic, because which protocols, wireless protocols we are going to discuss here, okay, the wireless devices what we have. And the other one which we are left with is automation and programmability. Under automation, once we cover automation and programmability, I'll also give you some briefing related to cloud computing. And I do remember that we are left with few of these services and network management stuff that we are left is to check about the syslogs, then NTP, SNMP, and what else? Syslog, NTP, SNMP, and yes, CDP and LDP. These are LLDP. These are the basic protocols and services and network management. These are the few things which we are left with. Okay. So I probably feel that by next Friday, we should be able to complete this entire topics. Okay. Today and tomorrow, we are going to cover basics of security fundamentals. Then we are going to just check out, this will take one lecture, just one lecture. We'll be finishing off this with on one lecture. Okay. And then these three things we will run in the next week. Okay. Wireless, automation, and cloud computing. So just a brief idea about what is left so far in the session. I know that we were supposed to complete in the 21 days, but since the topics are too broader in way of, conceptually, they are very, there are a lot of things which I haven't actually not much delivered because of the less of time what we have. Okay. So hopefully when you want to take it as a full-fledged course, okay, which we generally run, okay, where we give enough time for you to grasp things and practice things, and give you assignments, and then check out whether you're able to troubleshoot, because troubleshooting, even that is one of the aspect when we are learning networking. So far we are understanding the concepts, we are trying to configure them, but as of now we haven't created any scenario, or we have understood how does the troubleshooting works. Okay, so those scenarios etc we are generally covering in our full-fledged classes. So those of you who are just new to this and still feel that, because in the way of understanding in this way in 21 days what we are talking about, you are getting exactly all the flavors of whatever is there in CCNA 200-301. But to make your hands more dirty, give you more of examples, topology, design, everything, access our labs, what we have developed in event software, all those things, you need to enroll for the course, okay, CCNA course. So soon after this, when I complete this in the next week, we will be starting with the full-fledged CCNA course. So those interested or your friends who are anyone who is interested, please pass this information. Even we will be putting up on our websites. Okay, so having said about all these things, let us get into the access list now. Okay, now security is a very important, it plays a very important role in the current scenario, right? It is, and the access list is somewhat very simple. What we say is we define the rules or the policies that who is being entitled to come into my network and who should not. Okay, so here it is basically just configuring the things what you want, that you want to permit anyone or you want to deny anyone. Okay, so these are the, like, access list is simply configuring the rules, okay, telling that whom you want to allow and whom you don't want to allow. So in your networks, okay, we have two types of access list. What we generally have is the standard and the extended. Before that, we will just understand some terms, which is inbound, outbound. Okay, so access list, as I said, it is used for filtering your traffic, deny your traffic from, or permit some traffic. Okay, so deny some network or deny some host, that the host should not be able to ping you, or the host should not be able to telnet you, or the host should not be able to give an HTTP request. Okay, so those things you can go and do it on your routers. Okay, so basically we configure our access list on our routers. And classification, so the two things what the access list helps us do is the filtering and the classification. Classification, this is basically selecting the traffic which you want to, you know pass for, or just taking one example, like we have, let's say, this scenario where I have a router and it is receiving traffic from two interfaces, two networks. Okay, and let's say you have developed a VPN. Okay, there is a VPN, and what is a VPN, we are going to discuss about that. It is a virtual private network. So if there are traffic coming up and you want to select the traffic from which you will allow or encrypt, okay, which you want to encrypt and pass through the VPN, that is the meaning of classification, that you can select the traffic which you want to encrypt and pass it through this particular tunnel. Okay, so these are the two main things what we achieve by using the access list. And in these things come the two terms, which is inbound and outbound. Very, very important, guys, to understand what is inbound and what is outbound. So inbound is what, when your traffic hits your interface. Okay, this is the interface. When your traffic hits this interface, or when a packet hits this particular interface, it checks. Okay, it checks particularly what is the, you know whether particularly this traffic should be allowed or not allowed. So inbound is when you are trying to see it at the interface itself. Okay, outbound is where you will see that when you want to put it to the destination MAC. Okay, when you want to give the particular traffic to the destination MAC, before putting up to the destination MAC, you're going to check this particular access list. Okay, that means before you put up that particular forwarding, that means the forwarding decision is taken based on, let's say now the traffic has come to the router. After the traffic has come to the router, understand this scenario, guys, very important. So once the traffic has, for outbound I'm explaining you. Okay, this is for the outbound. So when the traffic comes to this interface, to the router, so what happens is the router checks where it has to go. So it checks the destination MAC. If the destination MAC is somewhat, the network is there in the routing table, then it is going to accept it. If it is not, then it is simply going to discard it. So first is looking at the destination MAC, it decides whether the network, okay, looking at that particular destination MAC, it refers its routing table. And if the entry is there, it will just allow. If there is no entry, it is just going to discard it. Okay, now if there is an entry, okay, so first it checks this, refer to the routing table. Then it sees that, okay, this entry is there. The next thing what it checks is After the entry is being there, okay, it will check whether any access list is being, configured. If any access list or any rule or any policy has been configured for this particular interface where I'm going to forward this particular traffic, because in the routing table it will understand which interface it has to forward the traffic. Okay, so after it understands that the entry is there and this is the interface where I am going to, let's say, fast ethernet 0/1 is where I have to forward the traffic. So once it understands that the traffic which I have to forward it to the interface, before it forwards it to the interface, it checks out the access list which is configured in that particular interface. Okay, and once it understands that, okay, the access list has been configured, then in the access list there will be an information related to deny or permit. Okay, so once it sees that, okay, there is a deny, so it is simply going to drop that particular packet. If it sees that there is a permit, then it has to allow that particular traffic to go towards that interface, come out of that interface. Okay, so this is how outbound works. Okay, after it checks it whether to forward that particular traffic to the interface or no, that is outbound. Okay, inbound is when it hits, then you check out whether you have to accept it or you don't have to accept it. Okay, so we are going to learn this in detail when we are going to configure. Okay, we are going to take it on a packet tracer. uh yes. So this is inbound and outbound. Again, access list is helpful when we want to do a remote access, because as we have mentioned that telnet is not that secure. The username and your password, your credentials goes in the clear text manner. So when we want to secure it, we can also make use of your access list. Okay, so VTY, you can also configure access list for your VTY lines. Now let us understand the two different types of access list what we have here. So the first named is standard access list, and the second one is the extended access list. Okay, now we'll understand what is the difference between the standard and the extended. Every access list will be having a number, because we are saying that we are going to set up the rules. Okay, there are rules, rule number 1, rule 2, rule 3, rule 4, or a policies, I can say. Okay, we are going to set up the policies. So when you're setting up the policies, okay, you have to give them a numbering. Okay, so if you want to identify or distinguish standard and extended access list, so that has to be on the basis of their numbering. So if you give a numbering access list, okay, the command will start from access list, and then if you give the numbering as 1 or 2 or anything in between 1 to 99, that will be classified as a standard access list. Okay, and if you're giving in the number range from 900 to 199, or even this is allowed. Okay, even the numbers have been increased now, so you can give 1 to 99 or 1300 to 1999 for standard access list, or 100 to 199 and 200 to 2699 for an extended access list. Okay, so based on the numbers, first and foremost, we distinguish whether we are applying standard or we are applying extended. Now what is the difference? The difference you can look out in your header itself. So in the standard access list, you can only deny or permit based on the source IP. Okay, only the source IP is there here, nothing else. You cannot specify any other information. Only with the help of source IP you can just try to define your access list. So just like access list 1 permit that particular host or network, or then access list 100, likewise here when you are saying only source IP. But when we are going for an extended access list, we get some more complex, information can be defined. Like we can define the source IP, we can define the destination IP, we can also define the transport layer, whether we are using DCP or UDP. So this is like more complex. Extended access list gives you more scope for you to define in specific which particular protocol you don't want to allow, like OSPF or TCP/IP or your telnet. So this gives you more of flexibility to define which layer protocol you want to allow, don't want to allow. So this is in detailed. Okay, so extended gives you more of features to add in your policy or to your rule. With standard, it is not so that we cannot use or it is of no use to have standard access list. It is actually very simple. If you want to do a little basic configuration, basic things, like you don't want to allow a specific host, or then you can actually use standard access list. But in general, okay, in general, we go ahead with the extended access list. Am I audible to you all, guys? I get to know from somebody that, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, okay. So this is the difference, okay? The basic difference is through the numbering you can see. See, we can also name the access list. Numbering and naming, these are the two things which you can give it for your access list to identify the access list. And the difference between standard and extended, we understood. Only source, if you're defining only through source IP, we will use standard. And you want to add more of information related to your protocols, related to your network, host, then we can go ahead with the extended access list. Okay, now before we understand, okay, how to go and configure it, okay, I still hear it from somebody, no audio, I guess. Am I audible, everyone?
The audio is good.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, okay, okay. All right. So before we get into the configuration, guys, there are certain things, guidelines, what we say, that which we have to follow while defining the access list. And these guidelines, I have mentioned it here. Okay. So how do you create it? We create an access list globally and then we assign it to the interface. So first you need to define the policy, which you will directly do it using the config mode. You will get inside the config mode, global mode, and then you are going to just create an access list. After you create an access list, you need to apply it, that on which interface you want to apply. Okay, and there you're going to take the decision of in and out, whether that is an inbound or whether that is an outbound. Okay, that is the important thing, that once you create it, unless you apply it to the interface, your access list is of no use. Okay, so once you create it, apply it to the interface, whether it should be applied at the inside or at the outside, that is what we have to think. Secondly is this important thing, the second point, that you can only have single access list per direction. It's impossible to have two inbound access list. Okay, that means you cannot have access list numbering 1 and access list numbering 2. Both can be applied on inbound or outbound. Per direction, just please look into the meaning. Per direction, in or out, okay, there has to be a single access list. I cannot define multiple access lists on one interface for in. Okay, so if I'm specifying this as in, I should have only one access list. I cannot have multiple access lists for defining it as in. Okay, and when I'm saying it even for out, okay, for out, again we should have only one access list. We cannot have multiple access lists defined for out also. So per direction, in or out, it has to be, okay, a single access list. It is not possible to have two inbound or outbound access lists. Okay, put the most specific statements at the top of your access list, because if the packet matches a statement, the router doesn't check if it matches another statements. So here you need to be very cautious. Like say you have configured an access list, okay, and there you have allowed, or first you have written permit some network, okay. So there will be a numbering which will be again given, okay. When you define access list 1, first rule number 10 will say that, okay, permit this particular host 192 dot some numbering I am giving you. Then it is saying deny the other host. Then it is saying permit some other host. So what happens whenever the packet comes, okay, you are trying to check it one by one. Okay, if this is wrong or this doesn't matches, okay, simply that particular packets and this particular entry, okay, if it doesn't matches, it goes to the next one. If this also doesn't matches, it goes to the next one. Okay, so likewise one by one. Now let's say if this matches, okay, the first entry itself matches with whatever you are saying, whichever to allow or to permit, then it will not go and check out what you have written in the second and the third line. So that is why you need to be very, very cautious writing what should you write, what you should write first, and what you should write second and third. And the fourth important line, very important line, guys. The fourth important line is, don't forget the last statement is deny any, because it is implicitly, okay, implicitly every router in the access list, even if you don't write anything, there will be deny any. Okay, that means apart from this, if anything else comes, this is implicitly defined. Okay, this will not be visible, it will be something like invisible command or in policy which is present in your table, invisible. That means implicitly I'm saying it is implicitly defined. So apart from the first three rules what you said, if any other traffic comes, then the fourth option will be directly deny, so you won't be able to allow any other traffic then. Okay, so you have to be very cautious. If you don't want to have this implicit, you can say permit any. If you want to have any of apart from this, you don't want to disturb any other networks traffic, then you have to write there explicitly, you have to go and write the command permit any. Okay, else it will just go to take implicitly, this will be configured, and then you will be in big trouble. Okay, so this is very important, that you will not be able to see deny any which is there as a last statement in your rule, in your policy rule. Okay, so this is the basic information related to access list. Now how do we go and configure it? Let's look out in the packet tracer. Let me just clear this out. Okay, so here let me take up a router, and let me take up one more router here, and a computer. Okay, so now what I can do over here is let this PC, okay, let me give this a name A or B. Okay, we will create an access list first with the standard and then with the extended. So let me give this. Okay, so there are three networks. As we see, there are three networks, right? So let me give an IP to all these networks first. The router 0/0, I will give it as 10.0.0.1. And the other interface, I will give it as 20.0.0.1. And here I will come and give 20.0.0.2. And then in the other interface, I will give it as 30.0.0.1. Okay. Now I should give the IP to the PCs. So let me give it as .10.0.0.2 and the default gateway as 10.0.0.1. Similarly, here I should give it as 30.0.0.2 and 30.0.0.1 is the default gateway. Now what I will do is I can try creating access list for, permitting a particular host. Like this is the host, I can give it a name host A and host B. Okay, so let's say when we go and ping. Okay, now one more thing what we have to do is we have to go and do the static routing or the dynamic routing, because there are three networks. So if we have to do anything, like if you have to ping this other network, ping 20 or anything, then we should know the static, or we should know the routing, right? You know that if I go and ping from this PC to 20.0.0.2, it will not be able to ping it, right? Right or no? Yes. Just go and try to ping the 20.0.0.2. It won't be able to ping, right? Correct or no? Yes. So because we should know that in order to have a ping, okay, there should be both forward and reverse path will should be available, because you may feel that okay, this router is already knowing the network. This router has two networks, 10 and 20 subnets, and this router has 20 and 30 subnets. So 10 will not be able to forward your traffic to this interface which I have given, because the reverse path is not available. It is not only the forward path which should be available. That is why you need IP routing. Okay. So just don't understand that if I am able to reach, because my router has an information to reach 20 network, so I will be able to ping it. Your other router where you want to ping, it doesn't have any information about the 10 network, so it is not going to respond you anything. Okay. So just be wise enough here, because at times there are students who are making this mistake. They feel that ma'am, this network has the information, or this router has the information 10 and 20, so I should be able to ping that other router. No, just having the forwarding path is not enough. Until and unless the reverse is also not available, you will not be able to ping it. Just understand, when you ping it, you send a request. When you want to give a reply, this router should know that this network can be reached via which path, right? So you need to go and give, either you go and give static routing or you go and give dynamic routing. It's up to you what you want to take it. So let me just go and just do the static routing part. Okay. So I'll go to individual routers. Okay. So now I have to go to the static. I can you make use of this in a GUI. I want to reach 10 network with the subnet mask as 255.0.0.0, and the next hop is going to be 20.0.0.1. And let me just add it. And similarly, I should go and do it for this for 30 network. So let me just add that particular thing. 30 network can be reached via 255.0.0.0. Sorry, the subnet mask via 20.0.0.2 and add it. That's it. Now we are able to do the basic ping, right? We can just go and ping this interface of router 2, ping 20.0.0.2. So I should be able to see the reply. Okay. So here we are. This is a normal scenario. Now we want to configure an access list, right? We want to configure an access list. If you just don't want to have this host to communicate with this router or to communicate with this particular PC, okay, just because this PC currently is able to ping it. If you don't want to, okay, you don't want to pass this traffic to this particular PC, so you need to configure the access list. Now where will you configure the access list? That you have to decide on which router you're going to configure it. Okay, so I am asking you right now, everyone, you people need to answer this, that at present I am able to, the host A will be able to ping the host B, because it is a general basic static routing what we have configured. Now I want to add an access list such that if the host wants to communicate with this particular PC, it should not. So where should I put my policy? Because I have these two routers. In these two routers, I need to add the policy. I have four interfaces here. This is the gigabit Ethernet 0/0, 0/1, and again here also. So everyone has to understand and tell me on which router I will put the configuration, and specifically on which interface. On which interface? If I am, this is my router 1, router 2. So which interface I should go and configure my access list, because it is very important, guys. You know the access list, what you want to do. You want to deny host 1, okay, to ping your host 2. This is what we want to achieve. This is what I want to do it. So how, where I should do it first, that is important. Okay, so Mayank is saying 0/1, 0/1. That's right. Okay, so on 0/1, you want to configure on 0/1. So 0/1 is in or it's going to be out. What it is going to be?
0/1 in.
Will it be in? When this is going to come, the packet will come from here. Okay. It knows then where destination is, which at sitting at this part. So here it should not put the traffic, right? So it should be in or it should be out. Just think well properly. Just think about it. You are going to put the traffic. Just now I explained you outbound. When I explained you outbound, I told you that when the packet hits the interfaces, okay, it checks for the destination MAC. After it checks the destination MAC and it knows where it is sitting in the routing table, then it checks for the access list. So in the access list, it will check that on interface 0/1 what is being configured. Okay, after it is asking for deny or permit, then only you have to go ahead. So here you are going to configure the access list on gigabit ethernet 0/1, and that has to be a out one. Okay, it's going to be an outbound. Okay,
Outbound.
just remember this, guys. You don't want this host, okay, or this particular packet to reach to this host. So you want to deny, okay, so that has to be outbound. Okay, so you will put it as out. So let us go and do it now. So I will get into the router's interface here. Okay. And we have to get into the CLI. We are in the normal config mode as of now. Okay. So what we have to start is first create the access list. So I have to just type access and use the tab. It will auto complete the command. Then for a standard one, I should give a numbering one. Okay. Followed by that, because I know if it is a standard one, I can only make use of host address or the source address, I can say source IP, I can say. So you can go and just put a question mark. Then you can see what you have the option: deny, permit, and remark. So I want to deny. Okay. I just want to deny. And which address I want to deny, I have to see that the address is 10 dot. Okay. You can just go and put a question mark. It may give you three options again. Exact address you can specify. You can say any, you don't want to permit anyone. You want to deny, or you basically want to deny a specific host. So if you want to deny a specific host, so you can just go and write host. Followed by that, you can go and write the IP address of that host. Okay. Also remember, guys, when we had learned OSPF, okay, when we had learned OSPF, I had talked about the wildcard mask. Okay, if you can remember, generally your access list makes use of wildcard mask. It doesn't use a subnet mask. So if you're not using a host, and let's say we want to specify a network. So whenever you're specifying any network, let's say you want to specify 10 network with subnet/8, then for that you have to put 10.0.0.0 followed by the wildcard mask, which is the complement of subnet. You know that.
0.255, 255,
Yes.
255.
Yes, it should be 0.255.255.255 if you're using a /8 subnet mask. Okay, so just be cautious here that you have to use wildcard marks and not the subnet mask. I want to deny a host, so I'll just write host. Okay, what if you don't write host and you just want to deny the host with just an IP? So what you can do is you just write 10.0.0.2, and for the host, you know what should be the wildcard mask. For the host, what is the wildcard mask, guys?
0.255.
Yes, all zero. Okay, remember that if you're not using host and you still want to write in terms of IP, so using to understand that if you're not writing the host word, keyword, what we have here, if you're not using this command, then you have to make use of the IP of the host followed by the wildcard would be all zeros. Okay, because for a host we consider the subnet mask or the prefix mask to be /32. Okay, for the host the prefix mask is always /32. So if you complement that, you will get all zeros. Okay, so either use the word keyword host, or you can go and use this particular IP followed by that wildcard mask or wildcard bits. Fine. So here I am going to make use of my host command, what I have. Followed by that, my host is 10.0.0.2. I'll hit enter. Okay. And then this is what I've created the access list. I can go and check my access list has been created by just running the command do show access list. Okay, and I will just see that this is how the access list looks like. Okay, it will tell you that it is a standard IP access list one, and this is the first entry what we have made. Okay, likewise I can put many entries in the same group. Okay, in the same group access list. Okay, we can add more policies here. So here I have taken 10.0.0.2. Okay, I have denied for that. Now let's say I have created it. Implicitly, I know that implicitly there exists another line which says deny any means deny any, which is not visible here. I'll give you the example later. Now, once we have created the access list, I need to apply it to the interface which we have just decided that we are going to go to the interface gigabit 0/1. Okay, and there I have to apply this thing. So I have to go and write the command IP access group 1, and followed by that you will be asked for in or out. Okay, so just now we decided that it has to be out, so I'll put it as out and hit enter. Okay, so now I should not be able to reach this particular host because this has been now configured. So I should just go and ping this IP which was 30.0.0.2. Okay, so you see you get destination host unreachable. Okay, 10, that particular 10, 20, 30 is as good as the numbering. It is like matching, whether it matches with 10, whether it matches with 20, that line numbering, like we have the serial numbers. Okay, so here when you will add the policy, you have it in terms of 10, 20, 30, 40, that will be the consecutive numbering which will be given inside the access list number 1. So first match with the 10, line number 10, then match with 20. So whenever the traffic comes and it has to look into the access list, it looks numbering wise, whether it matches with 10, whether it matches with 20, whether it matches with 30. So if you go and configure anything more, the next line will come as 20. Okay. So now what happens here? Now this host is not able to reach out. Okay. This host is not able to reach this particular IP. Now what we have to do is, let's say I take one switch. Okay, I take one switch here, and what I do is I take one more host here, and let me break this connection, guys. Let me just break this connection, and I will make the new connection like this. Okay. So now, okay. So now this already has an IP of 10.0.0.2. Let me give this as an IP of 10.0.0.3. And the default gateway 10.0.0.1. Okay. What else we have to configure? Is it done? Do we need to configure anything else? Yes. Guys, do we need to configure? Just go and check whether you're able to ping the router 20.0.0.2. You will understand. Okay. So you are able to now just go and try to ping the 30. Sorry, I pinged up the 20. It was I was supposed to do the 30. From this one, because for this host A it has denied because the destination host was not reachable. Now if this host wants to go and ping that particular IP 30.0.0.2, hit enter. You see, even this is not able to reach out. We had only configured for the host A, but this is not able to communicate because of that implicit line. If you remember, I just said that the implicit line is there, which is invisible. Okay, so when you see only this line, there is one more line which is there, deny any, means apart from this, whatever comes, you have to deny. So what do we have to do if I want to allow this? Okay. If I have to allow this particular host or any other host which is sitting on the switch, what should I go and do? Tell me first, what should we go and do? If I have to allow that particular 10.0.0.3,
I have to access the
yes, I need to go to the access list one again. Okay. And then I need to do what? I have to write permit any. Okay.
yes, ma'am.
So that way you are trying to encounter that deny which is not visible. So by this you will try to give the information. So now again I will show you the show access list. Do show access list because I'm in the config mode. Okay. So now you see 20. The next line which we have added is permit any. Okay. So now if I have to go and check out, okay, let's check out. So here you see, here we get the reply. So this is how you configure the standard access list, guys. Okay. So where you have to do in and where you have to do out, at least I guess you have understood that the out, wherever you want that particular IP to get specifically configured in the outbound, I guess that is understood. Now, where will you say that in? In for what kind of, can you give me any example where we will have to say that at the inbound we have to configure it?
G0 router 1.
At the inside.
Yes,
Let's say
ma'am.
I don't want to
Router 1.
reach to the, I should not be able to ping to the router 20.0.0.2. Then,
If you don't want to ping
or
20.0.0.2, then you should be you should create
okay, I don't want you to, I don't want you to ping. Okay, now we have seen here the ping command. Okay, now let's say, okay, before we get into the in case, let us also understand the extended case for the same scenario. Okay, so far we understood the standard for the thing. Now, if I want to do it for extended using the same scenario and how to remove the access list, you just need to write no. Okay, just need to write no before that. So automatically that access list will be removed. Okay, no access list one, if you just type that, that will be removed. Okay, now you can go and check this. There will be no access list. So just write no and that list is removed. Now I know I want to configure the extended access list, guys. So for the extended one, I have to write again access list. And now the numbering has to start from 100 onwards. Okay, so let me give it 100. Followed by that, if you see, again, you have the same thing, deny permit. So I want to deny that particular host. So I will write deny. Followed by that, it is going to ask you which set of protocols you want to take into action, because as I mentioned, you have the feasibility of choosing your routing protocols, your TCP IP protocols, right? So here if I'm asking about ping, okay, if you're looking for a ping command, then here which packet we have to, which protocol we should choose? We should choose ICMP.
ICMP.
Very good. So we should choose ICMP because whenever a ping command is running, ICMP packet is created. Once you write ICMP, followed by that, it will ask you for the source address. So now the address, or I can simply write host. I want to deny host 10.0.0.1 or 2. Sorry, that was IP computers, IP 10.0.0.2. Followed by that, this is not yet complete, guys. Again, you need to go and check out the destination, that which destination you want to avoid it. Okay, so you have to say that, again I can select host and say I don't want the packet to reach to 10.30.0.0. Okay, and that's it, you're done. You don't have to put anything else. So this gives you more of, addition You can see which all protocols, which all a destination address you want to add. Entire mapping you can create this way. And again, you need to apply this into the interface. You will go to the interface 0/1 and IP access group 100. Okay, and this is out. That's it. You can go and check the access list. So you will see here deny ICMP host 10.0.0.2 and again to the destination 30.0.0.2. Okay, so here again we will be able to see that it should not be able to ping. Okay. Similarly, as we said that there has to be an implicit, even this will not be able to do it. Okay, so that there is an implicit deny. You have to go and write it permit any. Okay, so then only that particular other host will be able to reach. So for an extended list, you just need to start with the numbering 100 and followed by that you can go with the host or you can go with the network, wildcard bits, select the protocols what you want and accordingly you can do it. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions over here, guys?
No, that's okay.
All right. All right. Now, what I want to say is, I want you people, I got a short of time, guys, today. I will like to end the lecture because I just got some important work. So I will be continuing this access list of more in more detail tomorrow. What I want you to do from your side, I'm giving you an assignment here. The assignment is that you are going to have a telnet configuration on this router, okay? And you should avoid the telnet to be done by this host 10.0.0.1. These hosts should be able, other host all should be able to telnet this router, okay? This router 2 I'm saying, okay? So you should be able to, host B and C should be able to telnet it, but host A should not be able to telnet this particular router. Okay, so this I'm giving you as an assignment. Let me see how many of you would be able to do it. So tomorrow we'll finish off the access list and then we'll start with the firewall and VPN concept. Okay, so I am ending it just because of some important work. Okay, so take this as an assignment and let me know. Let me see. I'll again repeat the question. You need to configure telnet on this router. Okay, and you should deny host A to telnet that particular router to. Rest
Okay,
all
ma'am.
other PCs should be able to telnet this router. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. Yeah, the recording I will ask Sagar to put it on the website, on the YouTube. Okay. Fine then, guys. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
See you tomorrow. Thank you.
YouTube, there is a link, Joseph. Can you just contact Sagar? He will just guide you there. Anubhati, you have just joined it. We are done with the today's session. We just shortly discussed about the access list. So I'm just about to end the lecture. We are going to discuss more about access list in detail tomorrow. We have just covered a short configuration thing.
Yeah, actually, I lost the connection. I was on this
Okay,
training.
okay, no problem, no problem. So I just ended the session. We will be continuing it tomorrow. I just finished off with the basics of access list. Okay,
Yes, yes,
standard.
sir. The standard one. I
Yes,
was
yes.
there in the class.
Okay. Okay. So I gave an assignment that we have to go and do you have to try out this telnet thing. You have to deny the host A to telnet this router to, and the other
Okay,
host has to telnet this, should be able to telnet this router.
okay, okay. Sure, I will do
All
it.
right. All right. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Good night. Good night, ma'am.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Bye bye.